Start button.
We're recording.
Okay. Good morning. I'm going to demonstrate making a goblet. I hesitate to say how to make a goblet because there's many different ways, but this is the way I do it. I didn't want to be outdone by Ralph Nettles. He wore a beret, but you know he was coming from a studio. He was more of an artist than a craftsman. So anyway, I got these operating caps from a relative of mine. I try to do rag, and you know that's a pain in the neck. This one at least slip on and off, but it does keep my hair a little cleaner.
Both of you.
I always say before I always say before I do a demo that I purposely make mistakes because you learn more from my mistakes. So when you see a mistake, it's on purpose. So first thing to do is to choose, generally speaking, none of these things that I say are hard and fast. I was going to say I choose a dry piece of wood, end grain, fairly straight grain. This one doesn't happen to be too straight. If you're going to make a real thin stem, like there's one over here, this was made by someone in Central Florida, with hands-on wood turners. Can't remember his name, but anyway, he gave this to the club, or gave it to me because I went up and did a demonstration up there. Not that I need to give this back to the club. No, he gave it to me. It's a real thin stem, and I'm not sure what wood this was made out of. He didn't, maybe he did say. But holly, made out of holly. But real straight, fine grain. You're going to make a thin stem, and don't have the pith in the center, especially woods that have a real soft pith like the Norfolk Island pine. Otherwise, it just won't stand up.
I did fail to mention that we'll be selling 50/50 tickets and the bring back tickets during the break. What's the wood, Carl?
Free. This is maple. I don't know if it's hard maple or soft maple.
We'll find out.
It's not red maple, it's white. Pardon me?
Any preference as to the size of the line you start out with?
No, I mean, I've seen goblets by Stuart Batty that tall, and I've seen, I can't even show you how small, some people make goblets, only about ½ an inch tall, so it all depends on what size goblet.
He draws everything out first.
Generally, I'll draw out what I want to make. I've made enough goblets, there's none of them on display there. I made them for a demonstration. You know, I'm not that critical about the shape of the goblet, but there's many different shapes. So naturally, however big you want the cup to be, with the top part, you know, you have to have a blank square, you know, big enough to fit that, and then however long you want the stem to be. Yeah, should leave an extra amount for cutting it off. That would be in a chuck. those are the mistakes I told you about.
He's showing you the skate.
Taking a tenon on the square. Make that shoulder bigger. Try to leave as much meat on here as I can to give it strength while I hollow the top part. So I'm going to trude the face and made this round here. Now I'll work my way back enough for the cup of the goblet. Gallery, there's all different shapes of cups for the goblet, and I'll pass this around. Lee Sky brought this in. There's pictures in here of all different goblets, not necessarily wood, the glass, but the shapes in there that you may want to use it as a guide. I don't say copy, but use it as a guide.
Sorry, Brian.
I won't do the entire shape of the top until I start hollowing it. Until I finish hollowing the top part.
Carl, did you finish the outside, especially around the top by the rim, or is that still in rough state?
My intention was to finish it, but yeah, I see there are a few little nips in there
But generally,
that the
that
camera
is,
picks up in a close-up
before you
shot.
hollow it out, to make that outside cut solid?
Yeah.
Or complete?
Yes.
It ain't gonna turn.
You're too close to your,
All right.
These cameras and TVs are really nice. Let him move over this one, before you start. He just gets your back when you do the hollow. Sanding, you would normally sand now, yes.
You can sand it now or later, once I have it hollowed a bit. You can't sand the whole thing.
That looks like a...
You could use a drill for that, yeah.
Careful, it's hot.
Yes. And a drill doesn't necessarily have to be in a chuck, but that's a safer way to do it. I have some drill bits that I put into a handle that, in there. What I did, I set up the tool rest so that the tool is the right height, so the tool actually rests on there, and I can leverage a little bit into the hole. Otherwise, it could jump around with it.
You're not doing the rapid flip?
Pardon me?
You're not gonna do the rapid flip?
Carl, can you tell us what you're doing while you're doing it?
He's hollow.
I don't know what I'm doing. Is it okay with the camera? Yeah, I'm hollowing. I've been accused of talking too much in the past and taking too much time that way. But okay, but if you ask questions, I'll explain it. I'm hollowing the top part of the goblet using a spindle gouge from the inside out because it's end grain, and you get a better cut that way. Since it's cantilevered out from the chuck pretty far, I'm getting some vibration. Also, the wood is quite hard and dry, so it.
Are you just removing the wood, or are you shaping it while even at this stage?
Well, I went as far as I'm going to go on the rim, and yeah, I'll be shaping it little by little as I go down into it. Because once you get down deeper into it, you don't want to go back to the rim if it's a thin goblet. Yes.
Do you have any special grind on your gouge, or is it
No.
plain old spindle gouge?
It's not a special gouge. It's like a detailed gouge. I don't know if you can get that.
Fingernail grind is what?
It's
Somewhere
not
in
exactly a
between.
fingernail grind, but it's swept back about 3/8 of an inch and a 40-degree angle on the front and the sides. The 3/8 inch spindle gouge.
Hey, Carl, you ever use a termite tool down in there?
You could,
The small one?
but termite tool is a specialized tool. I don't like to demonstrate using special tools, and people go, oh, I gotta go out and buy that special tool.
I understand.
And the termite tool is more involved to sharpen. so I only use a termite tool when I have to, for deeper. If you're gonna make a vase, an end grain vase that's pretty deep, then I'll use a termite tool or a hook tool. But something as shallow as this, a spindle gouge will work, or I'll use, when I get close to the thinness that I want, I'll use a round nose scraper with a burr on it. Get a nice shape on the inside. That's a round nose scraper.
Lower.
Put it on the rest.
There you go.
It's ground on just the one side. It's normal round nose scraper that you buy is just rounded on the end. But this is ground back about an inch and has relief on the sides so that it won't rub on the side. And put a little burr on that, and I use that for boxes and goblets like this.
You use it above center.
Yeah, you want to, in this case I'm using a scraper flat on the tool rest, and I want the place where it's cutting to be above center of the circumference to prevent a catch. If you use it above center use it above center, and you should get a catch, it'll go away from the wood, because the wood is curving away from the gouge. If you use it below center, then if you get a catch, it'll go into the wood and get a worse catch. So you do it above center. And also, for the burr to work, the burr doesn't stand straight up, but it's at a somewhat of an angle, and so you want the burr to be cutting the wood, and if you use it below center, the wood will be going away from the burr. This way it's coming into the burr. Pardon me?
The high pitch sound is vibration.
Yeah, yeah. That's chatter or vibration. And it's not so important when you're just hogging out the wood, but when you do the finish cuts, you don't want chatter in it. Chatter refers to the noise, but it also refers to the surface of the wood. You get steps in the side of the wood instead of being smooth. same gouge, only newer, a little longer. And noisier.
You're there, all right,
This is a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. So some of that chatter was not the flexing of the wood so much as the flexing of the shaft of the 3/8 inch spindle gouge. This is 1/2 inch. And there's less chatter. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Don't grab the square part while it's spinning.
Okay. Ooh, and don't tool wave. Sean Berger taught me that, what tool waving is. When I pulled that tool out, I moved it to the side and I caught the rim a little bit. I'll finish shaping on the outside of the cup. spindle roughing gouge, 3/4 inch, which should not be used on a bowl because it's so large in the front that that is a side grain bowl, grain going perpendicular to the lathe, because the this big end on here, the big edge on here will catch on the end grain and could break the tool at the end here where it goes into the handle. Worse than that, it flipped the bowl out of the chuck. So this is only to be used on spindle work. Now you can make end grain work. You can make an end grain bowl, and if the tool rest is close enough to the outside of the bowl, you can use this to shape the outside of the bowl. There are other tools to use for that. This shouldn't be used on the inside of a bowl, it's just too big. It's always good to stop the lathe before you move the tool rest, especially when part of it is square like that. If that happens to move into this square part, you can knock it out of the chuck. When it's round, it's not so bad, it just causes a mark on it.
Is that your tool rest? Did you bring your own tool rest?
No, this is
That's the one
mine.
over there?
Here. This is the tool rest that came with the lathe.
Just not seen it in definition.
Okay, it's a pretty fairly uniform thickness down to about here, about 2/3 of the way. And I'll finish the rest of it. Refresh the burr on the scraper.
I think that was set up different in the shop, Carl.
Yep. I like to use the rougher, coarser grit wheel to put a burr on here. So I just touch the outside of it and it brings up a burr. When I have some time, I'm going to add a longer handle to this. A scraper like this down inside there. Better to have a longer handle. You can rest your arm on it. And the other thing is, don't go like this, like I did once. You get a catch.
Only once?
Boom. Yeah, only once. One of the difficult things is getting rid of that, or getting the center of it down in there. Either not a dimple or a pimple. It's best to leave an outie than an innie, because when you have I call it a dimple, you have to sand all the wood around it to get rid of the dimple. Where if you have a pimple sticking out, you just have to sand that down. So. Right now I have About a 1/16. I still see, there's still a little, I didn't get rid of that tool waving when I hit the rim, when I brought it out, there's still a little nick there that I didn't get out. But I'm not going back to it with the gouge. I use my 120 grit gouge. That was supposed to be a joke.
Did you normally round the edges with the gouge or the sandpaper? Would you normally round the top of the goblet?
I don't, but that's only because I'm not going to be drinking out of it. But I just don't bother. But that's a nice touch.
If you were rounding, would you round it with sandpaper or with a gouge?
Depends on how much you want around it. If you're just going to break the edge, like that, then sandpaper is fine. And depends how thick the walls are. The thicker the walls, you can do it with a gouge. I would normally sand it down to 440, 420, whatever it is, 400 grit. The rest of it, Steve, the rest of it I'm going to be working here, so you might want to move it around.
Now you're whitening out the,
Pardon?
How's that? Well, you can't see it better.
Vibration, you could either be less aggressive, or you could actually bring up the tailstock and put a little bit of pressure on this, keep it from vibrating. But I'll just be aggressive to get rid of most of the wood, and then be less aggressive later. I will need to bring the tailstock up and put a little cushioning inside here when I do the stem.
It's not the chalk.
Oh, well, you mean the It may have come loose, the wood's pretty dry, I'll try that.
No, it doesn't matter. The vibration has nothing to do with the chuck. Okay, we've got it then.
Use a smaller gouge, it might vibrate less. In this case, being closer to the wood, the gouge shouldn't vibrate, even though it's smaller, but the cut will be smaller. Now at this point, you can put a little detail underneath the cup rather than just smooth all the way down. You put a little, I always like to put a little detail in there. Sometimes you get chip out, and I did get a little chip out on the detail there when you get real thin.